The late Arizona sun burned orange over the desert highway, turning the asphalt into a shimmering mirror. Dust whirled across the endless road as Ethan Brooks, a wiry 12-year-old black boy with bright eyes and oil-stained fingers, trudged home from his after-school job at the gas station. His backpack sagged under the weight of a battered toolbox, his most prized possession. His father, Samuel Brooks, had taught him everything about engines before disappearing 2 years ago under circumstances no one in their small town dared to talk about. Ethan stopped when he heard the faint hiss of steam. Ahead, a sleek black Aston Martin DB11 sat stranded on the side of the road, its hood lifted, releasing tendrils of smoke. Beside it, a woman in an immaculate white pantsuit paced impatiently, a phone pressed to her ear. She looked wildly out of place, like a diamond dropped in the desert dust. "Listen to me," she barked into the phone. "I don't care what it costs, just get me a tow truck now. I have a merger call in 45 minutes. Her voice carried the sharpness of authority, the kind that made subordinates tremble. That was Veronica Steele, CEO of Steel Dynamics, one of the most powerful technology companies in the country. To the world, she was a genius visionary, elegant, ruthless, unstoppable. To everyone who knew her personally, she was colder than the marble floors in her penthouse office. Ethan hesitated. His aunt had always warned him about talking to strangers, especially those who looked like they could buy and sell half the state. But something about the woman's desperation made him pause. He cleared his throat. "Ma'am, do you need help?" Veronica turned sharply, startled. Her annoyance melted into mild disbelief when she saw the boy, dusty sneakers, torn shirt, a smudge of oil on his cheek. "I doubt you could do much for a car like this," she said, glancing at the gleaming vehicle. "This isn't some pickup truck, sweetheart. It's a custom engine." Ethan shrugged. "Still runs on pistons, valves, and combustion, doesn't it?" For the first time that day, Veronica blinked. Not from arrogance, but surprise. "Fine," she said, crossing her arms. "If you think you can help, knock yourself out." Ethan approached the car carefully, eyes scanning every bolt and wire. He reached out, felt the radiator hose, sniffed the air, then squinted toward a small puddle forming beneath the engine. "Coolant leak," he muttered. "Probably from the lower hose clamp." He reached into his backpack, pulling out a coiled strip of industrial tape and a small wrench. "You've got tape?" Veronica asked incredulously. "You think tape will fix a $250,000 car?" "Temporary fix," Ethan said calmly. "You just need to make it to town. I can patch it until a real mechanic replaces the line." She was about to scoff again, but the steady precision of his movements silenced her. He worked quickly, methodically, like someone twice his age. When he was done, he stood up, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Try it now." Veronica raised an eyebrow but obeyed. The engine roared back to life, smooth and steady. She stared at the boy, speechless for the first time in years. "How?" she began, then stopped. It was then that she noticed it, the thin chain around his neck. Dangling from it was a small silver pendant shaped like a crescent, engraved with a pattern she would recognize anywhere. Her chest tightened. Her mind flashed back to a memory she had spent 15 years trying to bury. Cold night, a hospital, a baby boy with a crescent-shaped pendant. That pendant. No, couldn't be. Her hands trembled. "Where did you get that necklace?" Ethan touched it protectively. "It was my dad's. He said it was from my mom before she left." Veronica's face drained of color. She took a step back as if she'd been struck. "What's your mother's name?" she whispered. "I don't really know," Ethan said quietly. "My dad never told me. He just said she worked for some company called Steel dynamics. The world tilted. Veronica staggered back, staring at the boy, this random stranger who had fixed her car in the middle of nowhere. Her voice came out hollow. Ethan Brooks, was it? He nodded slowly. Would you like a ride home? He hesitated. Sure. As they drove through the sun-drenched desert, Veronica's thoughts raced faster than the car. Could it be possible? Could this boy be the child she lost? The baby taken from her after the scandal that destroyed everything 15 years ago? She had buried that past, or thought she had. But the crescent pendant on Ethan's chest told a story she could no longer ignore. Ethan's home was a small, weather-beaten house on the edge of a forgotten mining town called Red Mesa. Rusted pickup trucks and abandoned gas stations dotted the horizon. His aunt, Loretta Brooks, stepped onto the porch as the sleek car pulled in. Her expression froze when she saw who stepped out. Ethan. Who is this? This is Miss Steele, Ethan said proudly. She runs a big tech company in Phoenix. Her car broke down, and I fixed it. Loretta's face turned pale. Steele. Veronica Steele. The woman in question nodded cautiously. Loretta's jaw clenched. Ethan, go inside. Now. Ethan frowned. But. Now. Once he was gone, Loretta faced Veronica, eyes burning. You shouldn't have come here. I didn't come here on purpose, Veronica said. I didn't even know. Don't lie to me, Loretta interrupted. You people took everything from us once. You're not doing it again. I don't understand, Veronica said, genuinely shaken. What are you talking about? Loretta hesitated, torn between anger and fear. Then she said quietly, You really don't know, do you? Veronica shook her head. Loretta sighed. Then it's time you did. She motioned for her inside. In the dim living room, Loretta opened an old lockbox. Inside were faded documents, adoption records, birth certificates, newspaper clippings. Veronica froze when she saw the photo. A baby in a hospital blanket, wearing the exact same crescent pendant Ethan now wore. 15 years ago, Loretta began, there was an explosion at the Steel Dynamics Biotech division in Phoenix. 5 employees died. But one, a lab technician named Samuel Brooks, survived. He fled with an infant. That baby was listed as his nephew. But we all knew he wasn't. Veronica's voice trembled. Why would he run? Because that baby was part of a program, Loretta said. Project Helix, genetic enhancement trials using embryonic DNA. You were CO in training back then, weren't you? Veronica sat down slowly, her legs weak. She remembered the project. A secret division her father had overseen. Something she was told had been shut down after the explosion. Except apparently it hadn't. Loretta continued. Samuel found out what your father was doing, experimenting on children. So he took one of them before they could terminate the project. The others weren't so lucky. The room spun. Veronica's whisper was barely audible. You're saying, Ethan? Yes, Loretta said. Ethan was one of the test subjects. Your father's company created him. That night, Veronica sat in her hotel room in Phoenix, staring at the pendant she had photographed earlier. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Could she really have found the son she thought had died? Her father, Arthur Steele, had always told her the child didn't survive, that the accident destroyed all evidence. But he had lied about other things before. Veronica called her assistant. Pull every archived file from the Helix project and find out what happened to Samuel Brooks. The next morning, a folder arrived in her inbox. Most of the files were heavily redacted, but one note caught her attention. Subject H17. Anomalous mechanical intuition. Can intuitively repair and optimize complex systems. Status: missing. Believed terminated. Contact: Samuel Brooks, former engineer, terminated for misconduct. Her heart stopped. Anomalous mechanical intuition. Ethan's gift wasn't luck. It was designed. But as she scrolled further, a restricted folder caught her eye. She entered her old executive password. The file opened. A video flickered to life, a recording from a lab. Her father stood beside a glass crib. Inside was a baby with a silver crescent pendant. Arthur Steele's voice echoed. Prototype H17 shows remarkable neural activity. If we can stabilize his genetic imprint, we'll have the blueprint for cognitive engineering. Veronica slammed her laptop shut, horrified. Her father hadn't lost control of the experiment. He'd continued it. She called her investigator. Find Samuel Brooks. He may be the only one who can explain this. But the voice on the other end was grim. Mom. Samuel Brooks died last year. Car crash. Brakes failed. No witnesses. Veronica's blood ran cold. Just like they silenced everyone else, she murmured. Meanwhile, in Red Mesa, Ethan noticed strange men near the house. Black SUVs. Sunglasses. They weren't from town. When he asked his aunt, she just told him to stay inside. That night, he heard her on the phone, whispering, "They've found him. We need to move again." But before they could, the door burst open. Two men stormed in. Ethan froze as they grabbed Loretta. "No. Leave her alone." "Where's the boy?" one demanded. A third voice cut through the chaos. "Enough." Veronica stood in the doorway. The men immediately released Loretta. "I said follow him, not terrify his family," she snapped. "Get out." When they were gone, she turned to Ethan. "You're not safe here. My father knows you're alive." Ethan's eyes filled with confusion and fear. "What do you mean? Why would he care about me?" "Because you're proof of what he did," Veronica said quietly. "And he'll do anything to erase that proof." They fled through the desert that night, the sky a canvas of stars. As they drove, Ethan demanded answers. "Who are you really?" "I used to think I was just a CEO," Veronica said. "Now I'm realizing I was part of something much darker. My father built his empire on human lives. Yours included." "So what am I then?" Ethan whispered. "Some kind of experiment?" Veronica looked at him, the same steel in his gaze that she saw in her own reflection. "No. You're proof that something good can come out of evil." Ethan said nothing. Hours later, gunfire shattered the quiet. A convoy of black vehicles closed in behind them. Veronica swerved through the canyons. Bullets struck rock walls, sparking like fireworks. One tire burst. The car spun, skidding into a ravine. They crawled out, dazed. Veronica grabbed Ethan's hand and ran toward an abandoned facility. The old steel biotech plant, long sealed off. Inside, the air smelled of rust and chemicals. Ghosts of the past lingered in every flickering light. In the control room, Veronica found an old server still operational. She connected her tablet, fingers flying across the screen. "If we can download the Helix files, we can expose him," she said. "Every child he experimented on, every bribe, every death. Will it stop him?" Ethan asked. "It'll destroy him." As the files transferred, a voice echoed through the intercom. "Well done, Veronica," came Arthur Steele's voice, smooth and menacing. "You always had your mother's stubbornness. I warned you not to dig." He stepped into the doorway, flanked by armed guards. His silver hair gleamed under the harsh lights. "I should have known you'd come back here," he said. "And you brought my creation with you." "He's not your creation," Veronica said fiercely. "He's my son." Arthur smiled coldly. Yours? My dear, your son died years ago. That boy is a product. A success story. Ethan clenched his fists. I'm not a product. Arthur raised a gun. Then prove it. Before he could fire, the terminal beeped. Transfer complete. Veronica hit upload. Across the world, servers lit up. Files flooded into the public domain. Evidence of decades of crimes. Arthur's empire began to crumble in real time. Checkmate, Veronica said. Arthur lunged, but a single shot echoed. He collapsed, clutching his shoulder. Veronica lowered the gun. You taught me business was war. I finally learned how to win. The fallout was explosive. Headlines blared. Steel Dynamics scandal. Human experimentation exposed. Arthur Steele was arrested and later convicted of multiple felonies. Veronica resigned from the company she'd built, donating her fortune to launch the Brooks Foundation, dedicated to supporting gifted children from underprivileged backgrounds. Ethan became the face of the initiative not as a victim but as a visionary. 3 years later, he stood on a stage beside Veronica at the opening of the Brooks Steel Innovation Center, built on the ruins of the old biotech facility. My father taught me how to fix machines, he said to the audience. Veronica taught me how to fix systems. Veronica smiled through tears. 5 years later, Red Mesa thrived again. The once-forgotten desert town had become a hub for young inventors. Ethan, now 17, had already patented 2 clean energy devices. He wore the crescent pendant still, not as a relic of his past, but as a symbol of what had been reclaimed. Veronica watched from the sidelines, proud but haunted. Late one evening, she visited the old cell block of the prison where her father spent his final days. He sat frail, unrepentant. You think you're a hero, Veronica? You destroyed our family name. She smiled sadly. No, father. I redefined it. When she left, the sun was rising. A new dawn over the desert. Back at the center, Ethan was teaching a group of kids how to build solar engines from scrap parts. A young girl raised her hand. Miss Steele says you used to be a mechanic? Ethan grinned. Sort of. I just like fixing broken things. He glanced at Veronica watching from the doorway. Because sometimes, he said softly, fixing something small can change everything. The crowd of children cheered as the engine sputtered, then roared to life. Just like that day on the highway years ago.